On a particular day in March, I was looking for something new to play, and somehow ended up reading some stuff about League of Legends, a popular MMORPG developed by Riot Games. Considering the fact that I had to look up what MMORPG meant, and that the gameplay I saw intrigued me, I took to Twitter to see whether I should give it a try or not. Some said go for it, and others said please don't do that to yourself for the love of God, but the majority said try it out on your own first, and see if that's something you want to get into. And then I did what the majority said, for about a week. Here's what it was like to try League of Legends as a new player. Once you make an account, download the game, and first start it up, it introduces you to its tutorial levels, because that's what games do. I had already read up on a bit of introductory information, so I went into the levels aware of what things like top, bot, and mid meant. For the most part. These first tasks were relatively easy to complete, although the switching of characters part of it confused me, as the game tried to have me run through the levels while also trying to run over and try out every character in the process. The tutorial was pretty alright at explaining its mechanics to me, but neglected to tell me things like what in God's name a jungle was, or the fact that a ping system literally existed at all. You've gotta be kidding me. I'll give it some credit though, as I think it otherwise prepared me for the grand event that was my first game of League. Out of all the characters the game introduced to me in the tutorial, Lux turned out to be the one I had the easiest time understanding, so I chose to play as her for most of the week. Play enough games with her, and you'll know the phrase, "I don't have dark secrets. I have bright ones!" Better than you know your own name. I occasionally swapped her out for Morgana, who's pretty much Lux, but the W and E abilities are swapped and she's depressed now.
My wings are heavy, but not as heavy as my heart.
Going into my first game in Summoner's Rift, I was keenly aware of the notorious toxicity of League's community and sort of braced for the worst. But my first game actually wasn't that bad, and I didn't play that terribly. Even though I was shaking so much during it that I thought Parkinson's finally got to me. I even became friends with someone there, who I literally never saw ever again after that game. How nice. During the rest of the games I played, most of my teammates weren't really much to write about, except for one kid who got mad at me for being terrible in a game because I didn't know that you were supposed to permanently unlock champions to always have them as an option, and was forced to pick one I had no experience with. I didn't get footage of that, so I'll gently recreate the experience for you here. Okay, so I've played the main game a bit and recovered from Parkinson's disease. Now what? As a new player, the only plausible option you've got is to either keep playing Summoner's Rift until you get good, which I never did, or try out its ARAM game mode. Considering that ARAM was advertised to me by my new best friend, Google search results, as way too easy, it definitely was not easy at all. I didn't look too closely into the results, as I didn't realize that ARAM meant all random, all mid, until I was launched into my first game, and effectively did nothing useful because please help, what do the buttons do for this one? Games of League are typically pretty long, the average one lasting around 30 minutes. At least I hope that's the average. As I'm a pretty busy person that has to do different things pretty often and with urgency, I became a little familiar with League of Legends' Lever Buster system. If you try to leave a game early, the system gives you a harsh warning before you leave, and yells at you again when you log back in, even though I only ended up having to leave in the middle of a game once during the week. It really did its job though, as I felt bad for leaving for days after that. After I finished my intended trial week and played a little bit extra, I was forced to leave a queue, thinking it wouldn't be that big of a deal to do, since the game hadn't started yet. Nope, the system gave me a somewhat harsher slap on the wrist, having me sign an electronic agreement saying that I wouldn't do it again, and banned me from the queue for 3 minutes. I suppose the system is a good thing, since there's probably a lot of people out there trying to do this on purpose to ruin other people's games, but since I genuinely wasn't trying to do that, it kind of felt like the game was punishing me for having a life and responsibilities. The experience of being thrown into League's community was actually kind of interesting. Although I expected to encounter people like that one angry kid, in most games I joined, my team was either quiet, helpful, or positive. I knew that the RP part of MMORPG meant role-playing, but I didn't actually think that League's players would take this part seriously as well. I was never called any form of Mint Coco girl. I was always referred to as the champion I was playing. no matter what that person thought of me. And although it was odd to me at first, I actually think it was pretty nice in the end. Things like that helped the game feel more immersive and connected than I ever would have expected. Overall, trying out League of Legends as a new player turned out better than I expected it to. If you're interested in playing it for the first time, I'd say go for it, whether you think it's something you'd like or not. It's a free game, after all. As for me, playing this game was pretty fun in the moment, but between the lack of game modes for beginners, the lever buster system letting me know that my habits were not welcome, and how I personally went from loving it to losing interest faster than you can say all mid, whether I pick the game up ever again is a mystery all on its own.